Just imagine if a group of gamers is invited to play a new virtual reality game, only to later discover that any injuries they sustain in the game will be felt in real life. That is, if they die in the game, they will also die in real life. This shocking story begins with a gaming company that recently developed a new virtual reality system during their experiments. Consequently, this private company invites some of the biggest gamers to test their game. The company has set a grand prize of $1 million for the game. All invitation cards are sent to the popular gamers, and soon they all arrive at the company to test the new VR. Initially, everyone thinks it will be a normal game, but the unsuspecting gamers have no idea that this game is going to change their lives. Before starting the game, they are given numerous instructions, such as not revealing their real names or personal information to one another. They must only share their gaming names. Then, all the players are given suits to play the virtual reality game. These suits begin to join with each player's body one by one, as each section contains multiple motion sensors that connect the players to the virtual reality game. Before long, all the players have donned their suits, except for one player named Terrorist, who refuses to wear his suit. The terrorist has a gut feeling from the start that he should not play this game, and to some extent, he is right. He also feels that since his name is Terrorist, all the other players will attack him first. As a result, the terrorist tries to quit the game and leave, but surprisingly, all the doors have closed on their own, meaning no one can exit. After a little while, they realize that the game will only start once all players are wearing their costumes, and they will only be able to leave the entire building after completing the game. Forced by the situation, the player named Terrorist also has to wear the costume. As soon as the terrorist put on the costume, everything began to convert into the VR world. The entire room transformed into a deserted apartment, and everything around was taken into the virtual reality realm. However, this was merely an optical illusion. Some players took off their helmets to see that there was nothing there, but this was all happening because of the costume, which was a gateway to a virtual reality world in real life. One player named Reaper was the most excited about all this because he was the best among all the gamers. Several players tried to touch the bottles placed around, but they were merely holograms present in the virtual reality. The players couldn't believe their eyes because they had played many virtual reality games before, but this one was different from all the others. Everything felt so incredibly real that they became disoriented. As the military officers looked out of the window, they saw a battle raging outside, with terrorists and army personnel fighting against each other. They realized that the game had now started, and it was a shooting game. At that moment, the captains of their teams arrived and commanded everyone to stand in front of them. The captain was very strict and scolded all the players, stating that they had to complete a very important mission. The players were shocked at how this man had appeared there. When they touched the captain, they discovered he was just a character from the VR world and didn't exist in reality. Upon taking off their helmets, they found there was no one there. Some players were practicing aiming at the bottles lying nearby with guns, but the captain immediately raised his gun and shot one player in the waist. That player exclaimed that he felt the pain of the bullet on his body in real life. The captain then explained that this was no ordinary game. They had to complete it, or their lives could be in danger. If their health completely depleted, they could die. The captain informed all the players that they were under attack from terrorists all around. The captain instructed them that under any circumstance, they had to reach the ground floor alive. He also gave each player a medkit to help them regain their power. All the players started heading towards the lower floors of the building together. Suddenly, an enemy appeared in front of them, spraying bullets at everyone. The players quickly hid in a corner to save their lives, but then a player named Shooter bravely shot the enemy with his gun, killing him. After witnessing Shooter's skill, everyone started considering him a very good gamer, and it was clear from his actions. After seeing all this, the players became very serious and kept advancing towards the lower floors. As they moved downward, their level kept increasing. Along the way, they had to dodge many enemies and electric wires. Another player named Alt continued shooting down enemies with growing confidence, believing they could win the game. But this was just the beginning. Reaper, the most excited player, hadn't made a single kill so far. Suddenly, a dangerous terrorist appeared right in front of him, shooting continuously. However, Shooter pushed Reaper out of the way to save him, and the bullets hit Shooter's vest instead. As a result, Shooter's vest was damaged and fell off, meaning if he were to get shot again, he could die. Just in time, they managed to kill the terrorist. As the players cleared each level, they received different types of guns, preparing themselves for the even tougher challenges ahead. Many players were now scared, realizing this was not just a simple virtual reality game. Next, a player named Cock was attacked by an enemy. The enemy not only broke Cock's vest but also shot him a second time, severely injuring him. And this feeling of pain was happening to him in reality, but he was about to die. Before that, Shooter quickly came and applied a medkit to Cock, saving his life by a narrow margin. Cock couldn't understand what had happened to him at all. Everyone thought that after the enemy's 2 attacks, he would simply be eliminated from the game. All the attacks felt real to them. All the players gathered and started discussing that there must be something fishy about this. Many players were saying that this is just a reality show claiming that everything is real. However, Alt was blaming Shooter for all this because he had started killing the enemies at the beginning. After a heated argument, Shooter went into another room. Many players didn't want to play this game at all, so they tried to take off their helmets. But the frightening thing was that none of their helmets were coming off. This clearly meant that players could only leave after finishing the game. Soon, the announcement for the next level began. Several enemies started approaching their room. One of the enemies shot at Shooter from behind. Shooter didn't have his vest on, which caused him to get shot and fall down dead immediately. These events were happening in reality. Shooter had truly died. Meanwhile, many terrorists attacked the remaining players, who were all running around to save their lives. However, Reaper acted very bravely. He quickly took out a grenade and threw it at the enemies, causing a massive explosion that eliminated all the enemies. After a while, when all the players came out, they found out that they had cleared this level as well. But shortly after moving a little distance, they found Shooter's body, from which a strange foam was coming out of his mouth. This meant that Shooter died in the virtual reality game due to being shot. But in reality, there must have been some different reason for it. Surely all these things were related to their costumes. Because of this, the players decided not to continue the game, but they couldn't remove their helmets. That's why now the terrorists and Alec wanted him to break his helmet. But just then, their virtual reality captain arrived, who started killing the terrorists mercilessly. The captain stated that if they tried to give up again, he would kill them himself. They had to save their fellow countrymen and eliminate terrorism at any cost. Now all the players had to obey the captain's orders. Otherwise, he would kill them all. Everyone continued towards their next level, level 20. Here, they were not given any guns. Instead, each player was given a knife to eliminate their enemies because there were flammable gases all around this level, and firing a gun could cause a blast. The players worked together as a team, moving forward continuously. Among them, Alt had become the most dangerous player. He would even kill his friends to survive. In this way, they kept clearing their levels by forming a net. Before they knew it, they had completed half of the level, but the levels were about to get much more difficult. They were feeling quite anxious, so they kept using medkits, but the players were running low on them. At one point, Cock and another player needed saving, and they had only one medkit left. Reluctantly, Cock was saved while the other player was left to die. All the players were shocked that they had to complete the level at any cost. Otherwise, they would all be killed. Here, after reaching a certain level, the terrorist suddenly went insane. He decided to use the items available there to break the windows. After continuously doing this, cracks appeared in the windows, but just then, the virtual captain arrived and started attacking the terrorist relentlessly. He could not tolerate cheating in the game at all. The captain had broken one of the terrorist's legs, rendering him unable to walk. The terrorist was so badly injured in reality that the remaining teammates decided to leave him behind, but many players were against this. But after thinking a lot, the terrorist himself said that he could become a burden for them, so they should leave without caring for him. All the players began to move forward in their mission, while the terrorist fainted and breathed his last there. The upcoming level for all those players was going to be very difficult because they had faced very few terrorists before, but now a whole gang was present. A player named Tyler was so scared that she hid in a corner, having not yet made a single kill, while the other players continued to advance by eliminating their enemies as quickly as possible. They soon reached a level where their captain was fighting the leader of the terrorists. The captain revealed that this leader had planted a very dangerous bomb on the ground floor, which they needed to find and deactivate at any cost. However, the password for the bomb was with the leader, who was not revealing it. Therefore, the task for all the players was to get this password out of the leader by any means necessary. The players found this level slightly easier than the previous ones, so they began torturing the leader to extract the password. Cock was separate from the others, and they all started beating him mercilessly. Just then, the leader mentioned a password named Duty, which Reaper quickly entered into the computer system. Suddenly, all the lights went out. The players thought that perhaps the bomb would not explode now, but then a horrifying truth was revealed. The bomb had been activated and would explode within 30 minutes. This meant that the leader had given the players a false password. The leader began laughing like a madman. The captain instructed all the players that they needed to complete the remaining levels as quickly as possible within the next 30 minutes. The captain immediately went outside to find another way. A player named Mustang, in a fit of rage, killed the leader because he was of no use anymore. Here, Alt was getting angry at Reaper because he had entered the wrong password, leading to all these troubles. He started chasing Reaper to argue with him. But just then, both of them accidentally got trapped inside the lift, which continued to descend to the ground floor. Although Reaper and Alt had gone to fight each other, they both realized that they needed to work together to move forward. Meanwhile, the rest of the team was advancing to defuse the bomb on the ground floor, so they also decided to go down. Alt was using Reaper as a shield to protect himself, meaning that any attack would hit Reaper instead of him. Suddenly, a large number of terrorists began to attack them. Alt quickly moved to the other side, but Reaper had run out of ammunition. As a result, he was shot and died. It was clear that his death was because of Alt. On the other side, the remaining players were rapidly completing their levels and moving down. They had taken a proper position from where they could shoot the incoming terrorists. However, when they reached the second floor, none of the players knew that Reaper had died because of Alt. Now they all hurriedly began to head toward the ground floor. Here, Taylor entered a room to get a medkit, but the scary part was that Alt was also inside that room, wanting to take the medkit from Taylor. Alt snatched the medkit and killed Taylor. As Alt was about to exit the room, Cock arrived. Cock thought Alt had just come to get the medkit, but as he looked further inside, he found Taylor's dead body. Before dying, Taylor had written Alt's name on the side, which made Cock realize that it was Alt who had killed both Taylor and Reaper. He immediately went after Alt to strangle him. However, no matter what happened, Alt was the strongest. He pushed Cock down and began attacking him with a fire extinguisher. Just then, the VR captain arrived and saw that Alt was killing his own teammates. So he began to punch Alt repeatedly. The captain became so furious in the end that he took Alt's life. Now, there were 10. And now, only 3 players were left: Cock, Mustang, and Chief. The 3 of them quickly headed to the ground floor to defuse the bomb. After reaching that location, many terrorists started attacking them. Unfortunately, during the sudden assault, both Cock and Mustang got injured. Although Cock was on the verge of death, he applied his medkit to Mustang's body, allowing her to heal completely. But now, Cock had died. A player named Chief quickly avoided the terrorists and managed to reach the bomb just 10 seconds before it was about to explode. As he pressed the button to defuse it, everything in the virtual reality returned to normal, meaning they had completed the entire level. However, Chief was not very excited about all this. It then became clear that Chief was actually the owner of the game and had been testing the players from the very beginning. Meanwhile, Chief's men quickly knocked Mang unconscious and shifted her to another location. The bodies of the deceased players were gathered together, and their data was deleted so that no one could find out anything about them. A little while later, Chief placed a bag filled with $100,000 in front of Mustang. He told Mustang that she could take all the money because she had won the game, but she had to promise not to tell anyone about any of it. Suddenly, Mustang killed his men and took a gun from them. She then turned off all the lights in the area and started shooting at Chief's men. Having just completed such difficult levels in the game, her aim was impeccable. After killing everyone, Mustang stood in front of Chief and threw the bag filled with money at him. Without hesitation, she shot Chief and escaped from the scene. And this is how our story concludes.